Today I have a privilege test ride the new BMW GS 1400. It's a triple black model TE, basically fully loaded with electronic packages. Has a double Akrapovic silencer. So just want to have a look. What is the big hype about the new 1400 GS? The opinion at the moment are divided between the previous owners and the new owners, which they says the new one is so improved because it's basically a brand new bike, completely revised, has nothing to do with the old GS. We change mode to road 1. So the previous owners, the purists of the real BMW GS, they're not really happy how this bike changed. Even me sitting on this bike just feels completely different to the previous gen. Like the previous gen 1250 GS, there was much bigger bike. This is much slimmer. There's less bike at the front of you. When the old GS, there was much bigger bike. Also the sitting position is slightly different. On this one I feel like I'm sitting on the bike, where with the 1250 and 12 GS I felt like I'm sitting inside the bike. Also, in my opinion, the 1250 had more cushion inside the seat. This is not too bad, it's very nice comfy position, but I think the seat was much thicker on the previous generation. And also on the previous generation you had the option to adjust in 4 different positions the seat. This one is fit up with the electronic height adjustment. So bike, when you get into the stop, lower itself, and when you pass over 50 km speed, it just rises up automatically. You can put the bike in auto mode, or you can just leave it lift up in the manual. So yes, it's compared to the last year model, it's slightly bump on power and torque. Now it's around 145 horsepower and 149 Newton meters. But all what you have to remember, you're not gonna get all that power on the rear wheel, because due to the drive shaft. Every bike with the drive shaft losing the power. So I reckon from that 145 brake horsepower, you probably lose something between 10 to 15 horsepower at the rear wheel. And that applies to every single bike fit and run by the drive shaft. Torque, plenty of torque. Actually, I'm gonna change to dynamic mode. So every mode automatically change the suspension behavior. So with the road mode, the throttle is less aggressive. Also the suspension are much softer. With the dynamic, basically you have the sport setup, throttle and the suspension. This model is fit with the electric window which is at the moment in the higher position. And it's very, very windy day. I don't know if you can hear that, but all I can feel is a slightly buffeting on my shoulders. Visibility very good. Also you have like, you know, the blind spot warnings, which is very good. Plenty power, plenty torque. Yeah, GS never lack of the power and Newton meters. Still quite big and heavy bike, but not as big and heavy as at least doesn't feel as big and heavy as the previous gen. Also, what the BMW done very smartly on the web page, advertise the weight of this bike as 237 or 9 kilos, which you have to remember, these numbers applies only to the base model, which doesn't have a, like, you know, electronic suspension, doesn't have the electric windows, doesn't have a central stand, so it's pretty much very basic. So soon when you start spec up that bike with all the packages, automatically this bike gain on weight. So I really doubt if this bike is lighter than the previous gen. It could be even heavier because it has more electronic features, more things on this new gen. Still kind of feel like the GS, but it feels actually more like a sport tourer than the adventure bike, which was pure the 1200 1250 GS. Also, so many people complain about the, maybe not the gearbox, because the gearbox versus the last version was moved to different position, but what the people complain is the quick shifter. Definitely the quick shifter on the new GS, also on the previous gens 1200 1250, wasn't near as good as the others bike had, and I'll tell you why. So this is more to do how the engine is built. The boxer engine combined with the drive shaft will never give you the smooth quick shifter like this one. This quick shifter on the 1300 and feels much better than the previous generation, no doubt. You still have a, like, you know, tactical sound, mechanical sound when you change the gears with the quick shifter. Still kind of big jump if you change from first to second, but like I said, this is to do with the construction of the boxer engine plus the shaft driven bike. It's the same story. For example, if we compare Triumph Tiger 1200, which is also shaft driven bike but has conventional 3-cylinder engine, so definitely 1200 Tiger, the quick shifter feels much smoother than this one. But if we compare the 1200 Tiger Rally or GT Pro to 900 Tiger Rally or GT Pro, the quick shifter on the 900 is just like unreally smooth, and that also has to do because the 1200 is a shaft driven bike. If you look at the other BMW's bikes, the quick shifter is very lovely on those bikes. It's just because the nature of the boxer engine and the shaft driven, you're never gonna get the smooth quick shifter. Even, like, you know, when you just pass that second gear, go up, third, fourth, fifth gear, it's still kind of, it's not clunky, but it's kind of mechanical sound of the changing the gears. So it's just the nature of that boxer engine and the driver shaft. Other than that, like I said, I felt more like on the sport tourer bike than the adventure bike, at least with this one. Plenty power and plenty torque. Yeah, I like that windscreen. It's really good. Look, the windscreen is just moving down. Yeah, definitely with the lower position. This is the lowest position, and it's very windy day to day in Ireland. So yeah, there's loads of wind coming to my helmet. If I move up, yeah, it's much better. Like, there's no doubt there's so much improvement from 1250 or 1200 to this model, but to be honest, I don't see anything wrong with the 1250. Yes, you can feel the big gap between, for example, 1200 GS and this one, but 1250 is not that bad. So you have to think if you want to swap your 1250 towards this one. Another big major factor with the new GS is the price. Like, you know, when you look at the BMW Motorrad webpage and you see the base model, which is 22,000 euros over here in Ireland, I think it's 22,250 to be exactly, but has some features, like, you know, it comes only in the white color. It doesn't have a quick shifter, but has a heated grips. Doesn't have a big screen, has only small manual adjusted screen. Doesn't have a central stand. Doesn't have electronic suspensions, but does have the driving modes. So it has some features, but a lot of modern features. So if you start speccing up, adding, like, you know, quick shifter, electronic suspensions, like for example the engine guards, there's a special package, rally package, which including a package, I think it's 608 euro, 650 euro over here. You get the lower engine bars, radiator guards, Sturby levers, and there was something else. So if you don't buy the package, if you want to buy engine guards on its own, the BMW charge you nearly same money as the whole package just for only the engine bars. So if you want to spec your bike before you buy, just spec up, because everything, if you want to add up after, sometimes it could be impossible to add, or will be so much expensive if you will add it at the beginning. So I try to play up with the configurator, and at the beginning, when I start specking up the triple black color or the Riley, which I love it, nearly every time I just end up around the 30 grand bike. Yeah, you think this will be nice, this will be nice, this will be nice, and you end up with the 30 grand. Like, basically, if you get only triple black color over here in Ireland, which is already spec with the electric windscreen, I think black spoke wheels, central stand, that's already over 24,000 euros. So if you want to add up the alarm, if you want to add up the guards, it's just, like, you know, easily you end up with the 27,000 euro bike. And that's without the riding aids, like, you know, the active cruise control. I really like that telelever suspension. if you hardly brake, the bike doesn't dive at all. It's just amazing feeling. It's really, really good. So obviously everything is keyless. You have a keyless access to the tank, keyless start. Obviously if you go with the base package, you don't have that blind spot mirrors indicators. When, for example, 2 weeks ago I test drove the Tiger 1200 GT Pro, which for the price of the base model of the BMW GS 1300, the Tiger 1200 GT Pro had everything: electronic suspension, all that kind of feature. Obviously doesn't have a automatic cruise control that keeps you automatically distance behind the bike, but it does have standard cruise control. But that was also such a nice bike, such a plush to drive, to ride. Maybe my complaint about the 1200 Tiger was the windscreen wasn't as good as this one, wasn't that efficient. But probably if you will go for the aftermarket windscreen, you will fix that problem. I have to say, like, you know, this bike, it's so easy to ride. It's amazing how the weight is disappear on this bike. It's probably due to the boxer engine, because the gravity is very low because the boxer engine. It's the same thing as the KTM 1290 Super Adventure RS, or in that case any, like, you know, the KTM new model KTM with the side tanks, because that gives you lower gravity. The center of gravity is very, very low on the KTM. It's the same of this. Obviously you can feel when you maneuver this bike around your garage or parking space, you can feel the weight. Like, you know, this definitely feels smaller and lighter compared to the 1250 or 1200 GS, but don't forget, it's still very heavy bike, probably around 250 kilos, well spec, if not more. Okay, so maybe now let's talk what I don't like it about this bike. So first of all, for that price tag, for that money which you have to pay for that bike, there's no backlit on the buttons. So come on, how much will it cost add up some kind of backlight under the buttons? I don't think that's massive cost for the BMW, especially when you pay that premium money for the bike. Second thing which I don't like is this compartment. First of all, it's quite small. If you have a big phone, you're not gonna fit it inside. The second thing, I don't know why this compartment, it's not doesn't have an auto lock as for example the tank lock. It should be keyless as well. If you want to leave something valuable when you ride this bike and just go somewhere to the shop or wherever, that should have automatic lock system on it. Plus it has to be bigger. At the moment it's not really functional. Okay, I can understand somebody can put, like, you know, some garage keys or like, you know, license, but you have to always remember not to leave it if you go away from the bike. third, obviously the price. It's a big factor, play a role. Of course, you can buy the basic GS, be happy owner of GS, but then you're not gonna enjoy of the real features of the GS. Of course, you still have a boxer engine, all that power, riding modes, even heated grips. But for 22 grand, you don't have electronic suspensions. You don't have a central stand. I can live with aluminum cast wheels. Maybe as not good looking as the spoke wheels, but definitely much more easier to clean and much lighter than the spoke wheels. So I wouldn't be bothered if I had the spoke wheels or not. But definitely the electronic suspension. I'm not talking about the automatic riding height suspension, but standard, but the electronic suspension things, it's just amazing. It's really push out your ride. It's really good. Plus that tail lever is just something different, absolutely something that if you never ride GS, you should try it and compare with other bigger bikes. Quick shifter, I wouldn't be mad about the quick shifter. It's a bit clunky. I'm not really using it anyway, so that's why I wouldn't be complaining. It's there, okay, maybe if I will have to change maybe from 4th to 5th or 6th gear, yeah, then I will lose it. On the downshift, it's not that bad, but like I said before, you will never get that smooth quick shifter on the GS. Forget about it. For sure, the riding position is completely different compared to 1200 and 1250 GS. Still comfy, but I tell you, the 1250, it was much more comfortable position, different one. You still can ride hours with this bike, no problem. You can still feel comfortable on the bike. Also, what I think, the knee angle is slightly different as well compared to 1250. Different, it doesn't mean it's bad, it's just different. So you really have to just test this bike yourself, compare if you're previous GS owner, if you want to change it to the new platform, to the new GS, or stick with your own bike. Well, like I said, maybe try to find a good deal with the 1250 GS. I like the dash, like BMW always had that nice screens, I think so, along with the KTMs. Very clear to read, all the information displayed there, so there's no complaints about the BMW dash. Ergonomics quite good. Like for me, I'm not the BMW owner, so for me lack of those buttons won't make any difference. For me, just learn all that stuff will be kind of quick and easy transfer. But I can understand people who just have to switch from 1200 or 1250, which they already get used to the previous kind of system, previous layout, and now they lack of that specific buttons and they have to click through the menu looking for that special functions. That could be annoying. But like I said, for me it's not a big deal, and you can live with it and you can learn pretty much quickly. Also, you have to remember, those you who never rode the Boxer engine. Boxer engine is very specific engine. You can't compare with any standard 2 cylinders inline or V2 or standard inline 4 cylinders or 3 cylinders is completely different kind of engine. So you may find out it's not as smooth, it's a bit kind of mechanical, bit noisy, more vibey. But this is characteristic of this engine, so you have to accept it and live with it, or just you have to find some different bike, because this one may not suit you. Like this one definitely shouldn't disappoint you. It's improved, gives you the comfort, power, torque for your standalone ridings and riding with the passenger at the back. It's enough room. Low speed maneuvers are very good also. Even with the dynamic, the throttle response is not that kind of on off. You can easily adjust, like, you know, the throttle, and it's not kind of any jerkness. And also always you can change the road mode. So you have to get used to that engine, to the vibration, to the noise, to the mechanical tactile sound coming from the gearbox and the quick shifter. It's not as smooth, quiet as Japanese bikes, but has something, has a character, still boxer character. So you have to test yourself to find out if this is the bike for you, of course, if you can afford it. So well spec bike, triple black color or trophy, which is my favorite with the golden spoke wheels. It's always coming something between 27-29 grand. So big money. We just reached the same level as the Ducati Multistrada V4S. So yeah, then I will be thinking to spend that kind of money on the GS or just go for the Ducati, or just save yourself the trouble and the money and just simply buy the Tiger 1200 GT Pro or Rally Pro, or the new Africa Twin with the new Adventure Sport with that new 19-inch front wheel. That's another option. Of course you're down on power and torque, but I think it's still a very good option. Its price is well quite heavy, but it's a nice bike. Or just buy the simple GS, which will still have a, like, you know, same power, same motor, some same engine, riding modes. Just pure basic, no electronic suspension, manual suspension, and I think it should be enough if you want to have a GS on the budget. What I can say, that's another option. Maybe just add up some aftermarket screen and you should be fine. This bike is very quick, I tell you, it's very quick bike. Like for adventure bike, it just pickups very quickly. it seems for me, I have to say one more time, like it's more sport tourer bike now, with the position, with that power, with the look. It just sits between adventure and the sport tourer bike. Yeah, the quick shifter on the quick shifting down, blipping down, it is much nicer and much slicker than shifting up. But unfortunately, you have to live with that. You have to accept it if you want to buy and ride GS. It's better than 1200 and 1250, but forget if you get used to the slick quick shifter from the other manufacturers, even from the other BMW bikes. Also because this bike is kind of slimmer into the tank, it's probably quite easier to filter the traffic, but you still have to remember you're driving a boxer engine, so the boxer engine is sticking out. I don't have a problem put my flat foot on the ground because this bike has automatically lifting up and down the suspension. But even the standard bike 850, I was quite alright. I'm 181 centimeters tall with 32 inches in seam in my legs. Also, I found out now even the engine sound is slightly different compared to the old GS. If you open the throttle, it just wants to rip your arms. Obviously it's not the same as the S1000 XR or 1000 double R or single R, but still it's quite fast, quite punchy bike, just in 80 kilometer speed zone. So I have to say it's quite easy to keep the speed limit. Also just eco, rain, that's good, the power and road, that should soft up the suspension, give a slightly different throttle response, so you can change the mode on the fly, but you have to close the throttle to confirm that mode. Yeah, you can easy cruise around the city with this bike. Yeah, very nice option for somebody who is looking for the big bike. The only thing is, worth that kind of big money, you really have to think between 25 to 30,000 euro about this bike. But maybe treat it as an investment for the long-term keeper, and you don't have to change bike every so often. Plenty torque in any situation. That was first time when I changed the gear and the gear didn't pop in. So first time during this test ride I got the neutral. If I was the owner of 1250 GS, I wouldn't go for the 1300. No, I would just keep it for a while. If I was owner of 1200, yes, probably then I will think if I want to change for another GS. Yes, I will go for the 1300.
So to wrap up this video, the main question, would I buy this bike? No, to be honest, I wouldn't buy this bike. This bike is not for me. I really hard try to get into that GS cult, but I can't. Every single time I tried the GS before 1200, 1250 and now 1300, I have the same feeling, the same experience. This is not the bike for me, and I tell you why. I can't stand this engine on the GSs. The Boxer engine is a very specific engine. Like for me, the sand coming out of this engine is just horrible. It's just rattling mechanical agriculture sand, like you're riding like tractor. And I think so this 1400 is even worse than the previous generation. Second thing is a gearbox. It's very also mechanical. Every single gear, changing gear is pronounced. It's tactical. Sometimes even clunky. The other thing is just the quick shifter. I can't stand this quick shifter. Even with this 1400, it's way better than the previous generation. It's far away from the other brands' smooth quick shifters. I don't like it at all. So that would be the main reasons why I wouldn't buy this bike. Otherwise, it's very good, very nice platform for somebody who can accept, who can live without those three things. He will enjoy it. But I would strongly recommend you go to the dealer, take the bike and take the ride, because maybe you're gonna be like me. You're gonna find out this is not the bike you're looking for. Those kind of small picks will just put you off from buying this bike. So yes, I highly recommend you try it, test it, keep listen if you like the sounds coming out of this bike. Other than that, yes, it's a nice comfy platform. You can ride distance, plenty power, plenty torque. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Sorry for a bit long video, and stay tuned, ride safe and enjoy your ride. Thank you, and see you next one. Bye bye.